episode of the Inside Post. Today we have Friday's card at Pimlico for Preakness Stakes weekend. We will be handicapping races 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, capping it with the Preakness Black Eyed Susan on Friday, May 19th at Pimlico Racetrack. We will give you our top pick, a second and third option to use, and one long shot play that we think has some value for each race. Basically, this should be the late all stakes pick five on the Friday card. Um, Going back, I believe it's race four. We have Interstate Daydream making. Um, I'm not sure if it's the 4 or 5 year old start in there, but it will be down below. So make sure to check out down below for the full card of our betting guide for Friday at Pimlico. So we're going to kick it off with race 9, and pretty good race kicking off this stakes pick 5, going 5 furlongs on the turf. We have the very one stakes for 100,000. This is for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. So we have a dead sprint um, in here. We are going to go fairly deep on using some horses. Hopefully, we could beat some of these Ward uh, turf monsters that he has put in here. But we're going to use it as our top pick in Her World with Irad and Wesley teaming up for Andrew Farms for the People Racing Stable. Has won 2 allowance races in her last 2 starts. So she's 3-2 so far in 2023. Comes from Turfway Park, shipped to Keeneland, won an allowance of non-winners of 2 at Keeneland, and ships in to Pimlico for her second stakes race, looking at a little bit bigger class. Has some overall decent speed figures. 91 on the synthetic at Turfway. Then goes straight to the turf and puts up an 85. Looks to be a horse that's going to take to the lead. Has the high prime power of 143 in here as the top prime power for this race. So some average speed, some early speed, which in this 5 furlong sprint, that always seems to do well. Next, we're going just to the inside. We're going to use the other Ward trained horse in here. I know this one's a little bit better price with Spicy Marge with John Velasquez aboard. Again, another one with some early speed. Does come out of an allowance. Finished 4th in there, so definitely probably the weaker Ward. But with a 9-2 price, even maybe more, 7-1, 8-1, as the gates open. This one could have some value. Has similar speed figures to the other in Her World. Has probably one of the better turf speeds in here. Has ran strictly on turf. Has ran on the Pimlico turf. So kind of has that advantage of the other Ward trained horse. However, it's tough to read some of these horses when they work out from the turf standpoint. So again, this one we're just using it as it's got John Velasquez. It's a Wesley Ward trained, but I feel like Her World is the better one in here. Next, this is the horse that we're going to try to beat the Wards with is Thundering Creed. Kind of has the similar path of Her World coming from Turfway Park to Keeneland back to Kentucky Downs. Has kind of been all over the place. Has been running in grade 3 and big stakes company. Ran in the grade 3 Franklin at Keeneland. Finished second in there to Caravel. So we all know what Caravel is capable of. But did it by coming off the pace and was running, I guess, a little bit longer at 5.5. So this horse should be flying late. So that's kind of why we're using it. If the 2 Wards get out to a speed duel, Thundering Creek could come up right beside him and hopefully pass him in the stretch. But definitely going to need a quick pace for Thundering Creed to run into. 6-1, I feel like this horse could be 10-1 or closer come post time. And another one that we're probably going to use in here is Train to Artemis. This one is written by Paco Lopez. Kelly Breen is trained. Put in a pretty good workout. Again, it's kind of hard to judge some of these workouts going from the dirt to the turf or the workout to the turf. But 4-2 so far in 2023. Posted a big speed figure, 90 in the Lightning City. This was at Tampa for 100,000, and then kind of has stayed consistently running in some 100,000 stakes races at Gulfstream, 100 or $250,000 stakes at Keeneland, and finished 11th in that race. Really had nothing whatsoever, um, but was beaten the favorite in the time before that at Gulfstream Park. So based off of the speed figures in that last workout, one that we have to consider and maybe even use in here as a 50% win percentage is pretty good, um, and seems to do really well on the turf. Long shot, again, if you have a little bit extra money in your pocket and you want to go a little bit deeper on this card, especially on the turf, Get the Candy is interesting enough. Coming out off of a win at Gulfstream, I know it was just a handicap of 60K. So really nothing stakes worthy or class worthy in here. Um, but maybe the horse is in the right form for Mike Maker, who seems to be a hot barn right now. Gets Luis Saez aboard again, so another one that should be able to shoot out of the gate and run up with some of these with the other two wards. Definitely a long shot in here at 15-1, but definitely one to use if you're an exacta type person using this one with Thundering Creed, um, or putting it in with your trifectas on the bottom. Gonna have to take a big step forward in winning this race, just because of some the class in here is really strong, and I think Get the Candy will have to really take a big step forward, just because it's been running an optional claiming races, an allowance, and then the one win coming out of that handicap. Race 10, another short sprint. We got the 6 furlongs, the Miss Preakness Stakes. This one is considered a grade 3 stakes race for 3-year-old fillies. Um, another one that is a very good, could be a very good um, betting race if we can get somebody to beat Key of Life. Um, this horse is very, very good right now, is in great form. Coming out of the Beaumont, the um, Oaklawn Park $150,000 stakes, but the big win was the Beaumont, um, for that horse as the big, again, probably even money favorite in there. 96 speed figure seems to be holding that 90 mark of speed. Did it going a little bit further in 7 furlongs, so she will be cutting back to her 6 furlong distance. Um, I mean, yeah, this horse is 1-1. It could be a single. I mean, this is um, a shorter field where we're not going to spread as much. I mean, you have to key on Key of Life in this race. The other one that we're going to use will probably be Maple Leaf Mel, a horse that's coming in undefeated, for Jeremiah Englehart. Gets Joel Rosario aboard. Um, again, Joel's kind of been struggling riding, but I think this horse should be able to pick him up. Comes off a pretty good layoff of about 50, 60 days. Has one of the higher speed figures in this field. Speeds seem to be on the improving side. And again, steps into graded stakes race for the first time, but coming out of an Aqueduct Stakes race of 100,000 and being at Saratoga, um, another one on uh, another big stakes race that it's coming out of as well. So, got to check the layoff. Interesting enough, has some speed comparable to Key of Life and a not bad price of 8-5 right now. So, we're probably going to use two horses in here in Key of Life and Maple Leaf Mel. Um, I know I hate to leave off Irad with Rudolph Brissett and Afternoon Tea. That would be our third option. Um, if you want to use it and then single later and possibly the Black Eyed Susan, um, I just think it's going to be tough to beat those two in Maple Leaf Mel and Key of Life. Um, Afternoon Tea is just making her third start, um, coming out of a breaking her maiden. At Keeneland, going 7 furlongs. Yes, we expect this horse to keep improving. Just the big thing is it's going to have to improve a whole lot to face off against those other two horses. And then a long shot in here. I mean, Bound by Destiny, we're using this horse in our trifectas, 5 and 4 lifetime. I mean, hasn't done anything wrong. The only thing that we are kind of set back on was the speed figures not being anywhere close to our top two picks or our, even our third pick. Um, Looks to be a horse that possibly needs the lead. I just think it's going to have to really get out and challenge for that lead, and I just don't know if it's going to have enough to be able to do that. But definitely 30 to 1, we will use this horse in our trifectas and maybe an exacta with our top two finishers. Um, but a small field of 7, it's definitely the longest shot on the board and probably the toughest one to get up. Race 11, a mile on the turf. We have the Hilltop $100,000 stakes. This is for 3-year-old fillies again. And again, another deep field on the turf. A best thing maybe would be to single on the dirt, spread on the turf. So in here, we're going with a little bit higher price as our top pick and well into at 5 to 1 for Luis Saez and Jonathan Thomas. Comes out of a Grade 2 stakes race, the Appalachian. Was beat out by Papilio and Cairo Consort in there with Vincent Chaminade aboard. But here gets Luis Saez. Usually a hard gate rider, as we've talked about on some of our other videos of Luis Saez. Stays at that mile distance. That was our biggest question. Does the horse need to go further? Is the mile where the horse needs to be? And I think the jockey change could be interesting. Um, 4 well into, and I think one that's going to have that early speed and should set up really well for Luis Saez. Second pick, going to the rail and Breath Away. Again, Joel Christopher teaming up here. This one's coming out of a Gulfstream Park $100,000 stakes race. Winning there, posting an 83 speed figure. Has a big 50-day layoff. So interesting on that. The one post does have a lower win percentage, but I know it's early at Pimlico, so those numbers are kind of skewed a little bit right now. Has the highest or one of the highest speed figures or average speeds coming in here on the turf. We know when Christoph and Joel team up on the turf, it's usually in the money is where these horses play out. So definitely one we're going to use. Like I said, we're going to spread as much as we can in this race, just because we kind of have some 1 or 2s or singles in some of our other races. Third, we're going to use a spray. This one is Flavion Pratt and Chad Brown. Comes in undefeated. The speed figures are kind of what's a little bit off or lower than our other top picks. But the horse seems to be improving. Again, it's undefeated. I know it's coming out of a $27,000 maiden and a $75,000 claimer, but definitely going to have to take a big step forward. Does come in off a layoff. Did post a pretty good workout. I think it was May 14th. So it seems to be a horse that's in good form out of Quality Road here for Chad Brown. And again, gets a different jockey change up in Flavion Pratt. At a pretty good decent price of 8 to 1. I think you have to use this horse just because it's ran in some lower class races. But if it's one that's kind of improving or heading in that right direction, that's a pretty good price to use or hit on your pick 5s or even your pick 4s. So another one we are going to use would be Aunt Shirley with Irad and Todd Pletcher. This one is Windstar Farm owned. Was beat out by Breath Away, our second pick in here. The only thing that we are using this horse It did come out of the grade one spin away. It finished eighth. So it does have like, it's ran in some big class. It gets Lasix for the first time, has a pretty good workout. Trainers hitting at a 24% rate. Um, and it was bumped, I believe, really bad at the start in that last race where it was beat out by Breathaway. Um, I think the horse was the second betting choice in there at like 4 or 5 to 1. Um, so one that's obviously going to improve with the Lasix, and it should have a better start from the gate as long as it doesn't get bumped. Again, kind of that inside post should not affect this horse. Um, so I think if it has a good gate break, then this one should be fine. Up and Down is another one that we are considering putting on our ticket. Another one that's came out of breaking its maiden in $100,000 level at Keeneland. Chad Brown is 33% at the win rate. Second time Lasix. Again, probably should improve. But how do you improve off a first place win? You just improve your speed and you go in here and you win a stakes race. Has the highest prime power right now in this field. Um, Interesting just because stepping up in class, a little bit better step up than Osprey. Um, so interesting for this one to come in. Has an average turf speed coming in compared to our top pick and our second choice. So one that should be thereabouts. I think this horse probably will set up just off the lead, sitting in that mid pack area, and then possible making a late run. Long shot pick. This is just for those exacta um, trifecta wagerers. We probably will not use this horse in our um, multi-race wagers and our pick fours and pick fives. We're just throwing this one in here. Coming off a layoff, uh, really hasn't done much on the turf. Finished third a couple times. So if you are one that kind of spreads out your trifectas, this would be one to put on as a third place runner. Comes out of the Birmingham Oaks. Turfway Park Shippers seem to be doing really well, so we're just using it as that angle as a Turfway Park Shipper. So we will see what this one does getting back to the turf. Race 12, we have the Pimlico Special. This is a grade 3 stakes race for 3-year-olds. Another good betting race on the dirt. Again, sticking with that mantra, spread on the turf, single on the dirt. If you are the type of single person, Rattle and Roll could be a pretty good single in here or going 1 or 2 deep. Comes out of the Ben Ali grade 3. Getting back to those 100 speed figures is what this horse will need to coming in here. 16-6 lifetime earner over 1.2 mil. First time running at Pimlico, however, but has been beaten. If you look back at the horses past in I believe it was the New Orleans, and really far back in the Indiana Derby, was kind of beat out by some pretty good horses and kind of just never fired on those days. However, the horse usually runs from the back, so likes to sit in mid pack or close. Should be interesting enough. Here gets Flavion Pratt aboard for the first time. And then Kenny McPeak, I believe, has this horse right where he wants it for this race, especially coming out of that Ben Ali and sticking to that mile and 3/16 distance, which could be this horse's sweet spot. Again, I think this could be a 2-horse race. Our other one in here, Law Professor, would be our other option to use. 16-6 lifetime. This has Manny Franco and Rob Atross aboard. Does move up in class coming out of that Excelsior at Aqueduct on a muddy surface. Finished first in there, so gets back to this clean, hopefully clean track on Friday at Pimlico. Definitely gonna have to take a step forward again, just because it's came out of the grade 3 Razorback at Oaklawn Park, finished third in there, but was beaten by Last Samurai and Westwell Power. So those are two really good horses. Steps in here with nothing of those likes, but definitely gonna have to go up against Rattle and Roll. So interesting enough, this one would be the other one that we would use on multi-race wagers with Rattle and Roll if you don't want to just single him. Third pick, we're using Speed Bias for Luis Saez and Ron Moquette. Another one that's taking a step forward in here, coming out of optional claimers of non-winners of 2. Finished second in both of those races, so kind of has a case of the seconds. In the optional claiming at Oaklawn back in March, was beat out by Smile Happy in there, and Smile Happy ended up going on to win his next race. So we will see. Definitely going to have to take a big step forward. Seems to be one that's going to set off the pace, have some early speed, possibly pressing speed if it does not need the lead or does not get to the lead. And our long shot is Kuchar with Irad and Todd Pletcher again. 7, 2, and 3. The horse has just been in the money all but one start. Finished second to Rattle and Roll in the American Derby at Churchill Downs. This was basically a year ago in July. Put in a pretty good workout last week. Again, gets that trainer per win percentage of Todd Pletcher. So interesting enough, if you single elsewhere on the tickets, maybe you throw in Kuchar just because you're a big Irad fan. This would be the race to use Irad on one of those, just because I think he could be sneaky good just because he's ran with Rattle and Roll before. This horse does get Irad for the first time, so that's always an indicator with a new jockey. And the finale, going a mile and an eighth, the Black Eyed Susan. This is a grade 2 stakes race for the fillies of 3 years old. Again, here is another race where you could possibly single, or you could use 2 deep. And Feza, number 9 at 7-5 for Bob Baffert. She's unbeaten. She probably would have ran in the Oaks and probably could have won the Oaks if Bob Baffert wasn't still suspended from Churchill Downs. Has been the favorite in every one of her starts. Comes out of the Santa Anita Oaks, winning her last start as a grade 2. I believe she won a grade 1 Starlet. Again, just a horse that's improving. If you look at her speed figures, going from an 89 to a 95 in her 5 starts, improving on all of those. And I think she sets a big one here and maybe even cracks 100 in this race. I just don't see much of the other field that could challenge her right now. Um, I think if you wanted, she could be an easy single. Ships in just in really great form. Put in a really good workout again before she was shipped in at Santa Anita. Has the highest dirt speed, um, and Bob Baffert. It's his revenge tour. Here he comes to beat up everyone in the Preakness, basically. Our next one will be Merlaza. We might throw this one in if our ticket's a little bit cheaper. Another one that's won her last 3 starts for Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. However, her speed figures are nowhere close to Phases, and that's kind of where it's at. I mean, she's probably the second option in here, probably will be the second option now that some of these Pletcher horses have scratched out. But definitely probably the only challenger for Phasa just coming off of those 2 wins. Third, Sacred Wish. I feel like this horse would be a second option if Johnny Velasquez wasn't aboard. I feel like he's not going to want to pass Bob Baffert because Bob Baffert usually puts him on a lot of horses. So he's not going to want to pass somebody that could give him a horse in the future. But I think this is a good option at 10-1, especially to use in exactas with Phasa or even trifectas with our other top picks. At 10-1, I don't know if this horse will stay 10-1. It's probably going to be a little bit lower just because it's going to get the jockey betting on this one. But I just think it's a 2-horse race between Merlaza and Phasa, and we're just going to use these other ones as some prices. Comparative is interesting, but does come out of breaking its maiden and a claimer. Did post a 95 speed figure, so it seems to be improving in that direction. So that's why this one's our long shot pick at 12-1, coming from Go Dolphin. I just think the improvements seems to be something that we've checked off. Um, Really good workout at Keeneland back in May on May 13th. Has the closest speed figure so far, closest to Feza, but it's not consistent. It did post a pretty big one last time out. We'll have to go a little bit further. So interesting enough, at 12 to 1, this is why we're using this one again for a long shot and trifectas and possibly exactas. Deeper tickets, if you want to try to beat Baffert, Comparative, Merlaza, Sacred Wish would be our three that we try to beat Baffert with in here. But I think you almost have to have him on your tickets just because the horse hasn't done anything wrong. So there's our picks for Friday, Black Eyed Susan Day at Pimlico for the Preakness Stakes weekend. We thank you again for watching. Again, make sure to check down below. We will have our full betting guide for the entire card posted shortly after the video uploads once we kind of put together our tickets. Continue to hit that like button, leave us a comment. We love interacting with everybody that watches our videos, and hit that subscribe button. We are so close to getting 1,000 subscribers, and we could not thank you all enough. We hope you win big on Preakness Friday so you can increase your bankroll for Preakness Saturday. So be ready for those videos that will be popping up soon for our Preakness Stakes bets. Thanks for watching.